Sarah loved to read. She loved immersing herself in different worlds, meeting interesting characters, and feeling adventure and excitement. She loved fantasy, science, historical, and romantic novels. But what she loved most of all were horror stories. She loved the feeling of fear, suspense, and mystery. She loved stories that would put her to sleep with the light on. So, when she heard about a new book called Eternal Darkness, she didn't hesitate to buy it. The book was written by an unknown author and had no information about it on the cover or last page. All that was there was the title of the book and a picture of a closed door with a warning sign saying, "Do not open." The book seemed interesting and mysterious. Sarah was excited to read it. That night, Sarah returned to her small apartment, made a cup of tea, and lay down in bed. She took the book from her bag and opened it. There was no title page, index, or introduction. The story was starting right away. Sarah began to read, immersed in the words. The story was about a man called David, who worked as a private investigator. He was tracking a serial killer, who was killing his victims in horrific ways, and leaving behind mysterious messages written in blood. The killer called himself Eternal Darkness and claimed to work at the behest of a higher power. David was determined to stop him, reveal his identity, and find out his motives. Sarah was fascinated by the story. She felt nervous, curious, and terrified. The writer describes the scenes with realistic and frightening details. It created an atmosphere of terror and mystery. It was making Sarah wonder what would happen next, who the killer was, and what higher power he was following. She was reading quickly, skipping pages. But after a few hours had passed, Sarah began to feel something else. Something you've never felt before. Something strange and disturbing. Something is wrong. Sarah began to feel that the story was affecting her in an unnatural way. She begins to feel like she is not just a reader, but part of the story. She begins to feel that she is living what David is living, seeing what he sees, and hearing what he hears. She begins to feel that she is communicating with the killer, receiving his messages, and confronting him. She started to feel in danger. Sarah tried to ignore this feeling and considered it merely an effect of the story. I tried to focus on reading and enjoy the story, but the feeling didn't go away. Rather, it has become stronger and clearer. Sarah began to feel afraid and terrified. She began to feel that she was not in her apartment, but somewhere else. A dark, cold, and terrifying place. A place called Eternal Darkness. Sarah wanted to stop reading, close the book, and forget everything. But she couldn't. She was addicted to the story. She wanted to know the ending. She wanted to know who the killer was, what a higher power was, and what would happen to David. She wanted to know what would happen to her.